Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I want to talk about an interesting topic today, and that is the story kind of behind my deaf accent. So I was born deaf and grew up with hearing aid, eventually got a cochlear implant. And throughout my entire childhood, I went through speech therapy, learned to speak English. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I realized that I sound different to people. I don't know why or how, but I never noticed when I was younger that I sounded different to other people, that people had accents. Like, it just wasn't a thing. I feel like when you're deaf, you don't hear the differences in people's voices as much. So I never really noticed stuff like that. As part of being deaf, you just don't really pay attention to things like that, or you can't really hear that in people's voices as much. I can tell the difference between like a man and a woman's voice usually, but that's probably the furthest I'm able to even tell. But it wasn't until my 20s that I realized that my accent's weird. And the only reason I realized that was because I started getting out into the big world a little bit more. I went to college, I studied abroad in England, I have worked in customer service, and I've had interactions over the years that made me realize, my accent is actually much weirder than I thought it was. I don't mean to say it's weird, just it sounds different. And so that's why I say I have a deaf accent. Because I mean, it's not a Boston accent, it's not a New York accent, it's not anything to do with where I live. I guess the best way to explain why my accent sounds like this is because I grew up learning English phonetically. So like when I see a word, my mind goes straight to like breaking it down into pieces and to sound it out. That's how I learn like English, and that's how I learn new words sometimes. Like I see a word and I just sound it out. And that makes me speak like with my mouth bigger and more emphasis on different sounds. So I think that has a big contributing factor to how my accent is. I also want to share some funny stories that has happened related to my accent. So here's one. When I was in college, I studied abroad in England for 6 months, which was a really fun experience for me. And I traveled to Paris with a friend of mine, and we were just walking down the street heading to the Eiffel Tower when a random man stopped us, and he said to me, "I'm really sorry, but where are you from?" And I was so surprised to be stopped by a person in the street. Like he said, I couldn't help but over here. And he said, and then I just responded, "Where do you think my accent is from?" Because I like to trick people. And he said, "I don't know, something exotic, like Fiji or something like that." And I just laughed and left him, but I didn't even tell him. So that was like the weirdest experience I've ever had, just a random stranger stopping me in the street to ask me about my accent. And I was 22 at the time, so I hadn't really fully realized that my accent is different. And then after I graduated college, I started working more in customer service position. I worked in museums for a while, and when I did those things, maybe about once a week or at least once a month, somebody would ask me, "Where are you from?" And the question always would either surprise me or I expected it, but I never knew like how to respond to it. So I had a couple different strategies over time. In the beginning, when people used to ask me that, I used to just like stammer, stutter, and say, "I'm from here, like I'm from Boston area, like I'm like I was so surprised by the question." And then as time went on, I started to realize that these people had never really heard a Dutch accent before. So that's why they would ask me these questions. So I then started to realize, okay, well, that's my opportunity. I can educate people. So sometimes when I got the question, they'll be like, "So where are you from?" Like, because usually like in a conversation, they'll be like, "I'm sorry, where are you from?" And, or like, "Where's your accent from?" Is what the question I get. And I'll say, "I'm deaf." And that's when they start like clicking in their hands, they'll be like, "Oh, that makes sense." Or they'll be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry if you're like horribly bad for even asking me in the first place." And it's just a good approach to do that. Because then now they'll be like, "Oh, okay, there's probably a Dutch accent." I have gotten somebody say to me in the past, like, "Are you deaf?" Because like my hair's down, they couldn't see my implant. And they ask me, "Are you deaf?" And I'm like, "Yes, how'd you know?" They're like, "Your accent's familiar." So that's interesting to think about. But another thing I used to do before I was more comfortable saying that I'm deaf to strangers was like make up a country. One time somebody asked me, "Okay, where's your accent from?" And I was just like, I just said Romania. I know the real country, but I was just like, Romania, like just to see how they would react. And then he started talking about, "Oh, that's such a beautiful country," and I was like, "Oh no, this is not gonna end well." But I stopped doing that because I was like, I can't lie to people either. But when you work in customer service for 5 years, sometimes you just have to come up with the ways to answer these different kind of questions that are like surprisingly personal sometimes. But now when people do ask me that question, I say that I'm deaf, I wear a cochlear implant, and you know, take that as the opportunity to educate people. But yeah, I love my accent. I wish I could hear it better, but I do love how unique my accent is, and you know, embrace the way it sounds. But anyway, that's what I want to talk about today, just a little fun stories about my accent, and I still haven't quite figured out why my accent like this, but it's probably just from influences in my life around me, and the way I learned English, I think, is a big part of how I speak. So next time you see somebody hear the accent, you'll be like, don't give them that question, because it really, it gets people off guard sometimes. But instead, just try to pay attention a little bit more to how they're moving, how they're talking, are they looking at your face more? Because I mean, those are little body language cues that you can probably figure out, oh, maybe this person is deaf, or, you know, something, before you pose the question, be like, me from, where's your accent from? Cause it catches you completely off guard sometimes and you're like, what? But another thing that do happen a lot with the customer service is that people couldn't understand me. And I hated that feeling where I realized that somebody just was becoming very rude to me because they could not understand me. I always had a customer who started mocking me, and she was just really rude to me because she couldn't understand what I was saying or thought I sounded weird, and I was just like, it hurt my feelings like when somebody did that. So that's another thing, don't do that to people. Like, if you have trouble understanding somebody, take a second, listen, because I mean, if you just stop, slow down and listen to what they were saying, I'm sure you could understand them. Just try, rather than just become an ignorant, rude person and make people's lives uncomfortable like that. That's all I've got about job access today. If you have any more questions or want to learn more about other things that have to do with my job life, let me know in the comments down below. Or better yet, subscribe to my channel. And thank you for listening today. Have a good day. Bye.